Good afternoon and good morning and good evening, depending on when you're watching this video. Another day, another dollar, and today's episode it's actually making me sad a bit. Actually, not even a bit, quite a lot, and that is the urban decay in South African cities that we're currently seeing. And I keep asking myself a question as to why is it happening. But then we also remember that we also have a very dysfunctional municipal governance basically in our cities, and in fact a very actually good I don't know whether to call it the content creator, Uzmasa did actually a very beautiful video actually speaking in depth about this problem, especially in the city of East London. You can actually find this video right here. Is it this side or this side? Yeah. So but what happens is like every time, like for me, I'm originally from city by Mambozana, Kamehka, where when you drive through the CBD or the city center, something like a place actually that is supposed to be obviously the safest, first of all, in the city and the cleanest, it's actually the total opposite. Like the way that you see buildings that are currently crumbling, others were burnt down almost a decade ago, and no one has done anything about them. Inside the city center, the amount of potholes that you see, traffic lights, my favorites, or the call robots, don't work at all. And I ask myself, what is happening? Like, what is it that, like, obviously we need new governance, we need new structures. But what do we do when the new people who are also supposed to be coming in are also career-focused people instead of actually being service-orientated people? We see how actually the government of unity is almost, sort of working nationally, but why can't it work in the cities? Why does my city of Kamehka, like almost every 5-6 months, it has a new mayor? When will they think about the people? And for me, the scary part is when you're going through some of the bridges, actually going through when you go to the city center. Places, for example, like your what do you call this thing? Why am I forgetting the streets now? But when you're driving by the beachfront, by next to the prison, some of the bridges there where there's no handrails, some of them are cracking, and you wonder whether these bridges actually one day just collapse because no one is taking care of them. Mount Road, when you go up actually Mount Road and the one by Cape Road, there's those bridges that kind of like branch out when you're coming from Cape Road, down Russell Road and Cape Road, and you're like, this is scary when you think of it. Yes, obviously there's a whole theft and vandalism that is going on, but obviously it speaks to something. Again, I didn't actually even know about this theory again until I heard from Zmasa's video. The one speaks about the broken window theory, and I'm like, damn, that's actually exactly what is happening, because it all starts with one building, or one place at a time, and then it just spirals out of control. There was also the whole thing where we were looking at, for example, how a city like Singapore changed from being a very dirty city into a very clean city by changing mindset, sorry for picking my nose, of the people. And we're like, why can't we also do the same thing in our South African cities? Because technically now Cape Town is like The only one where it's kind of like where the city is almost like functioning at least properly, the city center where businesses, there's still quite a lot of investment that is going through the city centers. And like, why can't we also do the same? Because there's a whole lot of potential. Because especially if you look at a place like, again, Kamehka, that has two ports. You have the port of Ngqura and also the, what is it was called before, Port Elizabeth Harbour, where if you think of like someone where there's if an investor basically wants to invest, where you can emulate a tourist attraction place like the V&A waterfront in Cape Town, but you do something different that is actually appropriate for the East Coast, it will definitely generate quite a lot of income. And also you think of like the space of like all these old buildings that are crumbling there, that I think if the city can somehow run auctions or demolition them, and bring in auctions for property investors to come and invest in some property there. And to think about it, that is, we also have NMU University, so there's quite a lot of student population actually that can also stay there, and also young people that are working around the city who would want to stay closer to the beach area and also again be in the city, in the CBD. But how do we do that investment when even like close to where the city center is, you just don't want to walk there, let alone after 3 p.m. because it can be chai for you. it's time, so it actually gets me worried as to, as young people, we are running away from these problems. I could actually even include myself in that, because I'm from that area, but I moved this side about 14-15 years ago, and I've kind of never looked back. But then I always say, if I'm doing it, there's hundreds of thousands of people who are doing it. Why are we then just leaving that place to be? And obviously when one person abandon a certain city or certain place, other people will come in and then they will just take over, and then you no longer have a home. So that's where we somehow, I believe, when it comes especially to things like governance in South Africa, that we need to pay like huge attention when it comes to who we put in office, especially with our municipalities and our local elections. And this is also when, as South Africans, we actually need to interrogate how we vote. We don't need now you don't need to just look at a person's face and be like, I'm voting for that person. We actually need to be the people who actually interrogate and actually look at the manifestos to see whatever. Unfortunately, in South Africa, we're still voting for parties instead of voting for the actual person. But while that is happening, you need to read and interrogate each party's manifesto to see if it doesn't fit with what your beliefs are. Also, again, don't just take whatever that they say at what's called at face value. Also look at their history. What have they done? Are they doing something that has been remarkable and you can see that actually you can trust to put them in government? Also, do we have legislations and laws that will actually make sure that we hold these people accountable when it comes to assisting and making sure that actually we build our cities bit by bit. I mean, we don't have to start obviously big, we just need to start small. Where I'm thinking, for example, if for example I were to be, obviously I'm not running for office, or if I was mayor, is for me infrastructure is quite important. If you first look at, for example, our roads system, where you invest quite a lot to make sure that you upgrade these roads. Also, when you do upgrading of these roads and giving out tenders, make sure that you're giving out to people who know that they're doing. You don't want a road that's going to be crumbling in the next 5 years, whereas a road should be at least surviving for the next 50 years. Make sure that is working. Working again with your policing security services, where now every scrapyard in the city has to be registered and also regulated, that they do not accept any metals from people without any documentation, yeah. Because you always see like all these people who are vandalizing like our street lights and our traffic lights and all this public infrastructure for the copper, and then they sell it at these scrapyards. Because now if you close down that tap of scrapyards and regulating them, you actually now forcing people to make sure that they do things legally. For example, if someone is bringing a whole lot of copper, where do they get that copper? If they're bringing a lot of like aluminium, where do they get that, even if it's melted? That way we are a functioning society. That's where it starts. And then after that plan of actually like where you build now your infrastructure, you make sure that your roads are in good conditions, and your bridges are actually inspected and make sure that they're safe for the foreseeable future if there's a need for an upgrade. Like for example, another big, if you look at again the city of Kamehka, another big upgrade that is quite needed a lot is the upgrade of the M17 road, which is actually, I believe, one of the deadliest roads that you can find in the country actually. As to why that road is cars are still allowed to be to face each other and to be oncoming to one another. That shouldn't be happening in this day and age at all, because it's dangerous. Lives are being lost. So those are some of the things that you need to look into. And then afterwards, another plan for where I could look into, especially the Department of Health. If you can see the hospitals in the Eastern Cape, woo! Like I feel so like they make me so afraid like of any public public health institutions, because from outside you can see everything is just dilapidated, like it's crumbling, and you're like, how can this function? Because if you can then make sure that we have world-class health facilities, especially at least every town or city must have at least 2 to 3, depending on the population, 2 to 3 functioning public hospitals and clinics. Then we make sure that we're taking care of our own citizens. And because again, private healthcare is also quite expensive. When it comes to the national health insurance, I'm still not a fan of it, because yes, it's a grand plan in thingy, but it doesn't. It's a great plan, but execution wise, we don't know how that will be executed. Especially, for example, if you think about how hospitals, like the public hospitals, look, then this means no one will actually ever go there. They'll all go to all the private hospitals, which again might also charge exorbitant prices now because of everyone is going to them. And also, how are they going to handle all this money coming in? Our government is already well deep into corruption. So yeah, there's that. And then after that, we also need to look into our education systems, where our schools and libraries, community libraries, are actually well taken care of, so that we make sure that our kids are growing up as avid readers, not just consumers. Because kids nowadays, all they do is they watch, what are the shows? Peppa Pigs and all these other things all day long, and some of them they don't know how to read, where we can bring back again those reading competitions, so that again we can see the likes of Tandiswa, who were winning these reading monthly competitions, where people get to read and enjoy it each and every day. That's what actually is needed in our communities now. where we need to build this country back up now, little by little. And also, as we're building it, we're not just building it for the current population. We need to look at the studies and projections of where, for example, in the next 50 years, our population will be sitting. I'm thinking maybe closer to around 80 to 100 million people. And then do we know that actually do we have infrastructure in place for when those people do actually do come and arrive? And also again, I assume our healthcare facilities and will be much better, that people might also be living way longer than before. So we need to make sure that we are ready for them. So yeah, it does pain me when I see all the cities and like some people actually finding joy. And it's not just again the city of Kamehka or East London. If you look at again the city centre of Durban, if you look again the city centre of Johannesburg, like all these big metros, they're dying. Again, all because of politics, political war, yeah, fighting. It's very hard, yeah. But all in all, yeah, I just want to ask you basically, where, first of all, if you're watching this video, where are you from? And what do you think about your current city? Is it functioning? Or do you think there's more things that could be done? Yeah, if you do reach this time of the video. But anyway, yeah, this has been Unscripted again with Lwando. And I'll definitely see you on the next one, which will be episode 7. And I just want to say bye, and yeah, have a good day wherever you are. Bye bye.